and welcome back. This is Phoebe.
And this is Ed.
Welcome to Swinger University. Today we're going to talk about communication tools for connecting with other swingers. We're going to describe how Insight email works, chat rooms, Kik, MeWe, and a handful of other swinger dating apps. These technologies, some of them geared specifically to swingers, offer a great way to get in touch and stay connected with other people in the swing lifestyle. However, they do have their share of hiccups, and we will share some stories about our adventures with virtual people.
Yeah, so technology. This episode's going to be a little bit of a kind of a tech brain dump.
Yes.
And because I'm the nerdy one and deal with most of the technology,
Ed's going to talk a lot.
You're going to hear a lot from me.
And I'm going to try and ask Ed a bunch of questions.
So,
and Ed is the one, by the way, that does most of all the tech stuff. All the communication, etc., etc. I don't have the patience for it, honestly. I like it. I enjoy it. But I'd rather have him do it.
yes.
So, when you're good at something, just give it to the person that's has more patience and is better at it. So that's what we do.
Right. And like I've said in a previous episode, I deal with computers all day, which is why I hate them with a passion. But I work with them all the time, and so I'm pretty comfortable with them.
Right.
So the first thing we're going to talk about is Insight email. So all of these swinger sites that you go to, Cassidy, SLS, etc., they've all got some kind of a in-app messaging system. They're terrible. Probably the biggest problem with them is that they're not integrated in with your normal email. So like, you get an email from your phone, you can answer it, you can deal with it right there. But these systems, they'll send you a notification, but like if you really want to read the message, you've got to log in to a website and go play with it. So you'll get all kinds of notifications. You've got a friend request. You've got email. Someone liked you. And the problem with it is,
it's meaningless. It drives me bonkers.
Right, because there's no information in it. It doesn't tell you who it is. There's no pictures. Nothing.
I have to go to the site, log in, navigate my way through the website to try and find this email. And if you've ever been on any of these swinger dating sites, you know how frustrating it is and how archaic it is.
It's challenging, to say the least.
Yeah.
Now, one of the other frustrations that we've run into is free accounts. Now, free accounts are great. Don't get me wrong. You're just getting started. You don't want to shell out $130 for a lifetime membership.
Mm-hmm. Or $50, which we had a hard time with in the beginning.
So it's a commitment. It's not necessarily a big commitment, but it's still a commitment. You don't even know if this thing's going to work out. Does this site do what you need it to do? So, free accounts. People can't see the responses until they pay, sometimes, or they have a limited number of replies. Well, you're a hot couple, you sign up, all of a sudden you send out like 5-6 messages to people, and all of a sudden all of them reply back. Well, you can reply to a few of them, but not all of them. Wah, wah, wah. You're one of the couples that replied to them, and you never hear a response. Why? Because they ran out of tokens. They got to put another quarter in before they can get the machine to restart. Mm-hmm. So free accounts kind of make it a little cumbersome, and there's a lot of people who are just dabbling. So you'll see it in their profile. They've got one sentence, just trying this, or brand new, not sure how we feel. Insert a bunch of different descriptions, but the concept's the same.
Ed, how often are these emails checked by people in sight?
Not very often. And the big problem is you've got to log in order to see it. So I see email threads all the time. Oh, and sometimes the sites don't notify you that there's a new message.
Oh.
So a lot of times I don't even know that we've got a new message until I log in. So unless I'm logging into SLS every night, which I don't do, I don't see a lot of these messages coming through. And of course, we get those wonderful messages that are,
Hey,
hi. Hey there. Hi there. Ho there.
That's like 3 words. What do I do with that?
I don't know how to reply to half of those. It's not much
Hi
of a
back?
message. Hi, how you doing? I actually
I know.
improv a little bit.
You're very good with responses.
But it is pretty funny. So, word to the wise, if you're going to send someone a message, make it longer than 2 words. At least a sentence, a well-crafted sentence. Some of the best advice I ever read on dating sites was read someone's profile and message them with something from their profile. That gives them an insight that you're actually conscientious. You actually read their profile.
You actually care and are respectful.
It's more than a half-assed boink, like you're trying to poke someone across the internet.
Oh, and here I'm going to get on my little soapbox. It's like, if you're serious about responding, at least pretend to be serious. Because when you're not serious and you give these 3-word, hey, hi there, what? It's nice, but I mean, this is the equivalent of trying to equivalent to candy.
It's exactly like walking past someone at work and they say, hey, how you doing? And you go, I'm doing great, thanks. And you keep walking.
Yeah.
Or the nod to the person on the sidewalk as you're walking by and you go like, cute dog.
Yes, it's exactly like that.
And you just keep walking. Why? Because you got nothing else to say.
So why bother saying that on a swinger site?
Exactly.
Because I get that in my vanilla life. So this is what I don't understand. And it frustrates me, which is why Ed takes care of the technology part, because I don't have the patience.
Exactly.
Mer.
So it's hard to check the email, and then when you get in there and it's something that's half-assed, to say the least, it just makes it kind of a silly experience.
It's ridiculous.
There's another layer of stupid that's in here, and that is the way that the old system in SLS worked. Now, it's gotten a little bit better, and I'm picking on SLS a little bit because it is the most archaic of all of the systems. Cassidy's a little bit better, but SLS had a system where if you'd read the email, it pulls it out of the inbox and moves it into a read section. And if you replied to it, it moves it into a replied section. So it's helping you by managing your email for you. So if you accidentally read something and have to go remember what you'd read, you got to go look for it in a different box. If you replied, but you don't remember that you replied, it's dumb. Nobody's email works that way. If you're having an ongoing dialogue with somebody, you read, you replied, they sent something back to you, you want it in your darn inbox so that you can see that there's this thread going on. Obviously, they didn't have someone design this. They just invented it. Trying to reinvent the wheel somehow. Anyway.
It's old.
Now, it's not all cons. There's some pros. So I'll go into some of those. People open their locked and sexy photos and they share them with you. Now, what's kind of nice is that you'll get a message from someone and they'll say, hey, we unlocked our pictures. Come check us out. That's pretty cool, especially because most people lock their face pictures away in some secret vault. if you want to see what they actually look like, they have to kind of unlock the photos for you. Mm-hmm. So that's one pro.
Yes.
Now, the other pro is this is a gateway. It allows you to send somebody a message and then get out of that jail.
Yeah.
Give them your Kik profile or your email or a text message or something, some other means of communication besides message. And you can kind of jump out of the rut that is the Insight messaging, and you can kind of escape. That works. There's pros and cons with that too.
Right, which we're going to talk about.
Yeah, and the biggest pro, and this is why you don't necessarily want to immediately give someone your real life contact information, and that's because it's anonymous. It's protected. No one can get into it except for people who are on the site. Mm-hmm. And in a way, there's no real connection to who you are in real life.
Exactly.
So an email account or Gmail may be connected to a whole bunch of different stuff. Could be connected to your Facebook profile, could be connected to your Gmail. Mm-hmm. And now they've got a hook into who you really are. Mm-hmm. So a lot of people avoid messaging outside of these Insight messaging systems. And it's, like I said, it's fairly anonymous and it's protected. Mm-hmm. It's just annoying. Now, one last thing before we jump into the next topic, and that's that SLS recently switched over to a messaging style system. So it's more like Kik or like SMS text messages. So you can see a dialogue back and forth and back and forth and back and forth all on one screen. It's like a chat board. Mm-hmm. I don't have a strong opinion as to whether it's better or not. I'm still getting hi there. But
you showed it to me yesterday. I have a very strong opinion. I don't like it.
And why don't you like it?
Because it took 5 pages to open it. Right?
That is
you click on
SLS
one thing, it
problem.
Opens a new tab. You click on another link.
You're talking about the chat. We'll get to that.
Oh, okay.
I'm just talking about messaging.
Oh, see, I'm already confused.
See, so a lot of these sites have multiple ways of communicating. So I'll talk about Insight chat rooms. This is great. This is the most archaic section of SLS.
Sorry.
Now, a couple of the other sites have chat rooms too, but nobody uses them really. Even on Cassidy, I think I've only ever seen 2 couples in a chat room at once. I think people rely on real chat rooms like Reddit and other places in order to actually have a chat. And there are thousands of those. Like, if you really want to chat with somebody, go to Chatterbait or Cam4 or hundreds of these. Anyway.
Yeah. Kik, MeWe, all that. Yeah.
Right. So, SLS has Insight chat rooms. They're all Flash-based, which means that they're going to die probably in 2 weeks because Flash is officially dead. Mm-hmm. Adobe's ended support for it, and none of the browsers support it anymore. So you have to right-click, accept Flash, turn on plugin, blah, 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 blah.
But it's new.
No, this is an old one.
Oh, this is old.
The chat rooms are different than messaging.
Oh, sorry. See?
And
still confused.
If you're confused, you're not alone.
And I've been around for a while. I was around when there were 5-inch floppy disks.
There's really too many different ways on the site to send messages back and forth. They really only need one. Chat rooms are fun, right? You can put your camera on, you can do all that kind of stuff. The good news is that the new messaging system that they have has cameras. So theoretically, they're going to kind of combine the older technologies into this one new messaging thing.
Right.
But here's the trick. So let's go straight into chat rooms.
Okay. You go. Go, Ed.
Very few people are actually in the chat rooms. So just for giggles, last night I took Phoebe in just to show her what it looked like. And 4 pop-up windows later, we finally got a chat room up. And
to your surprise, there were 3 women.
There were 3 women in there. There were 1 couple and 2 women.
Right.
And my personal favorite, which I just, love, an endless stream of cock. It's a sausage fest. Pretty much that's all you're ever going to find in the chat rooms. I've only seen 1 woman, or like I said, last night, there were 3.
Yeah.
That is rare. It's very unusual. And I pop in there like every once in a while just to see what's going on. Who knows? Maybe I'm just there on the wrong night.
Yeah, maybe.
But even if it's a couple, which I see very few of them, it's usually only one partner of the couple. And it's usually the guy. And usually he has his cock in his hand, and he's hoping to find a couple or a woman. And I feel bad, but they're not there, dude. Move on. So here's a pro. So if you're looking for a lot of older penises, I got the place for you.
Oh, my goodness.
Personally, not my thing, but hey, some people are into that.
Yeah.
So chat rooms, for novelty, go check it out, but hopefully that'll go away and the new messaging system will fix that.
Thank you, Ed, for taking care of all that. And I don't even have to bother myself with that.
That's right, honey. I wade through waist-high cocks just to find the one couple that we're going to take out on a drink date. Well.
Okay. Let's transition over to Kik. It's a messaging system that another couple told us about. And we love it.
It's fun. It's interesting. It has some of the same drawbacks that a lot of the other systems do, and that's that not everyone is all talking at the same time.
Yeah.
But
it's anonymous.
It's totally anonymous. It's just a screen name. There's no connection to the real world. You can create new Kik profiles anytime you want. You can bury the old one, start a new one. It's all
have
super
a photo,
quick and easy.
No photo, whatever you want to do.
Exactly.
Totally anonymous name.
Yeah. So, and you can send pictures and you can send videos, and I think you can even delete the pictures after you send them. It doesn't quite work like Snapchat where there's a timeout on the pictures, or that you can see when people download your pictures. So keep that in mind. If you don't want your tits on the internet, don't send your tits out on the internet. But Kik doesn't have any kind of protections on it for that, not like Snapchat. Now, pros and cons. Some people communicate more than others, but everybody can communicate at the same time. We actually have several Kik rooms set up with another couple, and all 4 of us are in there, and we send pictures back and forth. We flirt a little bit. We talk about what we're going to do and when we're going to see them next, and it's fun.
It is fun, but it's great because everyone's included, and even though everyone can't chat simultaneously because, you're at work, you've got kids that you're managing, you're at a sports event, something, you're doing other activities. So usually one person has more time to keep the conversation going, but the other partner can check in, see the thread, and you're part of it. And that's what's important. You're part of it. Nothing's hidden. It's all there for you to read and participate as you wish.
It's all out on the table. So everybody has awareness of what's going on and what's being talked about. It's great. We find it comforting to know that there's nothing funny going on.
And nothing's lost in translation. It's just, like you said, all out on the table.
Exactly. Now, one of the things that you'll probably want to do is use Kik to do video verification. Now, it's anonymous, and if you can get into a two-way communication of basically a live video chat with somebody else, you can see if it's actually a couple or if it's just some 40-year-old guy living in his mother's basement.
You can do that on Kik?
Yeah, Kik allows you to do a live video chat, which is
We've never done that.
pretty cool. No, we haven't.
But we're not meeting anonymous people usually. We usually have met them at an event.
Yeah, usually by the time we're exchanging Kik information, we've had some conversations. We've established a little bit of a relationship, if you will. One problem we ran into is there's a cap. You can only have so many people in a Kik room. When we were going on the cruise, we overloaded the room. Yeah. We couldn't get everyone who wanted to participate into the room. And we had to flow over into the next application that I'll talk about, which is MeWe. Now, MeWe is trying to be an alternative to Facebook. I don't know that it's ever really going to be an alternative to Facebook. It's kind of a cross between Facebook and Kik. It's messaging, it's chat rooms, but you can kind of have an established profile with information on it. When we went on the cruise, there was a MeWe group where I'd set up a profile for us, posted a few pictures, a brief description of which cruise we were going to be on, what room we were going to be in, et cetera, et cetera. It was pretty nice. People could engage with you in conversation, but they could also go check out your profile. Con is no one's using it. And because it's being sold as an alternative to Facebook, I don't know how they're advertising it, because the only way I found out about it was through this Kik group that overflooded, and I don't think I ever would have discovered this app. So,
can you create a private group for swingers
in MeWe?
In MeWe,
yeah, the cruise group was private,
like the private groups that used to be in Facebook.
Absolutely.
Huh.
And that's what the cruise group was. It wasn't public. It was a private group.
So you actually have a profile, just like in Facebook.
Exactly.
Interesting.
Yeah, it's
Do they
an
have any
exact
restrictions
copy.
on naked photos?
Not in private groups. There were all kinds of stuff.
Facebook has that now.
Yes, the Facebook police will find your naked titties and they will ban you for a period of time.
They'll put your pasties on.
This is why we can't have nice things, and we don't play on Facebook anymore, because our group got really boring really quick.
Yep.
So, as I said, you've got social profiles, you can get large groups in there, and there doesn't seem to be a cap. So, if you're going on a cruise or you're going to a Desire event, something like that, look for a MeWe group. Check out SLS, contact a few people, maybe start your own group. That'd be fun. Heck, if you want to start a MeWe group with us, let us know. All right. Apps. Ooh, there's an app for that.
Ooh, gosh, there's so many. Oh, my goodness.
There's a flood of apps, and we're not even on Android devices. Android's an even more crazy app market.
And we tried most of them on the iPhone.
We did. Anytime there was a search term that matched up with swinger and an app, we download it.
Yep.
Why? Because we're horny. So we download all the apps.
Yeah.
Mostly because we keep hoping to find something better.
Yes.
And so far we haven't.
No.
So some of the examples of apps, and I think we've talked about some of these before: Bumble, 3Fun. There's another one called Swinger Safari. Bumble's a vanilla-ish app, so you will meet your coworkers on it, especially the maybe your boss who's recently divorced. So if you don't want to be exposed, no, I'm serious. You will find your boss.
Yes. Yeah, you have to be very careful about that.
Bumble's a bit of an exposure issue.
Yes.
Same thing with Tinder or any of these.
Or
OkCupid.
OkCupid, yes.
Pro and con. It's highly location based. So if you live in an area where there's a high saturation of individuals using it, bingo, you're all in.
It's perfect.
So if you live in the San Francisco Bay Area, you are golden. Now, if you live out in the valley like us, in the Sacramento area, not so much. You want to drive 100 miles, you can go hang out with the San Francisco crowd, but we've got few and far between in terms of finding couples.
Yeah, I mean, when you think about it, you're trying to get a very small portion of the population that are swingers all on the same app or the same 5 apps out of 25 that are checking them on a regular basis. So it's a
pretty small market.
Yeah, and because there's so many apps out there, it's watered down quite a bit.
Yeah, and I think everybody's trying here and there, and a lot of them, after you download them, they go into a pay model, so you've got to shell out more money to actually have it work. Swinger Safari was like that. It was free for the longest time, and then they started trying to charge people. I laughed because I'm not paying for something where there's nobody on it. That's just dumb. Now, if you had a large market, absolutely monetize that sucker because there's value add. You're getting a return on your investment. For us, hell no. But if you're in the right area, there's a large quantity of profiles, you can have a lot of success. And anecdotally, through all the Reddit groups, Reddit swingers groups, a lot of people have had good luck with 3Fun, which is one of the apps that we dabble in every once in a while. People like it. It seems to work. There was another one, too. It was a Tinder knockoff, and then they got sued.
Or
Field.
Field.
That's what it was. Feeld. Strange name, but I guess it's all the feels. That app has a pretty good reputation on the Reddit groups. We haven't had such good luck because, of course, it's all San Francisco based, a lot of Bay Area people. I think if you lived in a major metropolitan area, you'd probably be pretty good. Now, it's a little strange, and no one thinks this is true, but Sacramento is actually a huge swinger population.
Yes.
There's a lot of us horny people out here in the valley. Didn't know that. Discovered that recently and was like, oh, that explains a lot.
I know.
So we've had hit and miss luck, but we've never been on a date with anybody with any of these apps. We've had some conversations, but they usually kind of peter out after, a couple back and forths. So there you go.
What's another con?
Oh, yeah, this is one of my favorite. And this is true of most dating apps. So when I was single, recently divorced, and looking for the next lady in my life, I kept running across the same photo, but different names or slight variations on the names. Same thing on 3Fun and Field. I'm like, wait a second, I know this couple. Dude's got like the hipster beard, red-headed wife. Like, you can't mistake this couple. Like, it's obviously them. It's a photo of them at Burning Man. Who knows? And you swipe a few times and you go, wait a second, I just saw this. Oh, the name was Hot Couple, Couple. This one is Hot CPL. And you swipe a few more times and it's Hot with 2 T's couple. And you're like, oh. So either this is the same people who keep forgetting their username and password and they just keep creating new accounts, or it's just straight up bullshit. I can't tell. I don't know.
I'm convinced it's the app trying to make you feel better that there's more people on the app than there really are.
And I have no evidence to contradict that. It certainly seems that way. And I know that that was true on the dating apps when I was single. That was absolutely what was going on, because I saw these chicks on there, and I swear they were Russian escort pictures, and they were on there all the time. You'd never get a chat from them, but you could see them all the time. Anyway. No real people. That's a thing. Welcome to the internet.
Yep.
So eventually you're going to have some conversations. You're going to go back and forth, and it's going to seem like you've got a good connection with them. Well, you can transition over into the real world and send them your phone number and start sending them text messages or a Kik profile, and you can actually try to set things up to meet them. I mean, if you just want to stay in virtual land, that's great. But if you actually want to have a drink, or better yet, bring them home or to a hotel room, if that's your preference, you're going to have to give them a real phone number, because you're going to have to show up at a real place in the real world to have real sex. It just works that way.
Right.
So text messages are pretty much the standard communication these days, and it's great. You send them your phone number. You can send a text message. Hey, we're on our way to the restaurant. We'll see you in 15 minutes. Are you still on for Friday night, or whatever? There's a few cons with it. It is your real phone number, and if you happen to meet someone who's a stalker, and you can tell stories about dating guys and wanting to burn your phone afterwards and have them never contact you again, show up at random parking lots following you.
Oh, yeah. Wow. That was pretty creepy. Thank God you were there.
Yeah.
Oof.
Getting photographs of you from like another aisle being sent to you.
Oh, my God.
Strange stuff.
That was pretty creepy.
Yeah. You are exposing your real self. But here's the thing. Video verify with people in the virtual world. Send them some information. Have a little bit of confidence that it's a real person. And then, you know what? At some point, you're going to have to pull the trigger and have a little bit of trust that this is a real person and that they're not really fucked up.
More anonymous than the video verification, which we've only done once. And I was very nervous even about that. And I probably won't ever do it again. Or if I do it, it's going to be very situationally specific. But a lot of people, especially if you're meeting someone random from a website or something, you've never seen them before.
Right.
We had friends that would frequently post an ad on Craigslist when you could do that. And they would do a phone verification with the women. That way they could ensure that it wasn't just a guy pretending to be a woman or pretending to be a couple, and they could actually talk to the women, and the women could chat, have a brief conversation, and feel comfortable, and then everyone would get together.
Absolutely.
And that seemed to work really well for them, and they could vet out who was legit very quickly by doing so.
Yeah. And you can still get fakers and posers even with that. So there's no guarantees in life. Speaking of no guarantees in life, one trick, and here it is, I'm going to share with you a geek secret. I'm going to pass on some of my geeky wisdom.
Oh, yeah, you guys are going to love this.
This is great.
I love this feature.
It's really cool. Go download an app called PicFind. If you're on an iOS device, you can submit photos to Google search. Now, this is why you want to do it. Having a great conversation with a couple, they're sending pictures, they're really hot. send the picture through PicFind to Google image search. You will find out very quickly that there are 1,000 copies of that picture all over the internet. Turns out she starred in 300 adult films. Oh, that's not the woman who is supposedly meeting me for the first time and wants to date my wife and I.
It could be very
PicFind.
And if you want to believe that, it's very flattering. But the reality is, it's not true.
It's not really her, and it's certainly not her boyfriend.
No.
So the good news is PicFind will allow you to verify pictures and find out if they're very common and it's a porn star, or it's just a picture of some random person, and you can do a little bit of sleuthing. It's almost like a background check for photos. It's really cool. Now, if you're on a desktop computer, it's even easier. Drag the picture over to Google Image Finder, and you can get the same result. But if you're on your phone, you don't really have an option to do that. You can't drag things around. It's getting a little better, but PicFind, great app. You can find those people who are catfishing. They're basically sending you a bunch of pictures in hopes that you'll send a bunch of pictures, and then they've got all your pictures.
Yep.
Long and short of it is, you never know if it's a real person until you meet them in real life. So that's our trick. That's our secret. Actually go meet them in real life. So we've talked a lot about technology and applications and different ways of communicating, and we want to kind of get into an overarching statement about just online communication in general. The big thing is, these aren't necessarily real people. It's not real life. It's very anonymous. People pretend to be somebody all the time. You hear stories about the 40-year-old guy who's pretending to be the 16-year-old girl in order to lure her to the mall and then kidnap her. Well, it's no different for the swinger lifestyle. People pretend to be who they're not all the time. It's a single guy, and you want pictures of your wife's tits. It happens. So be aware that people aren't always who they say they are. I mean, an even more benign example is people who post pictures that are 10 years old. You see their profile, they look super hot, and then you kind of think that there's something off because the photos don't quite look right. And then you meet them in real life and you go, wait a second. They're about 50 pounds and 50 years different than the pictures that we saw of them.
50 years different. There was one guy, could have been 50 years, but it was clearly a picture from the 70s that had that kind of yellow patina to it.
Pow, pow. Yeah,
You could tell by the style of his clothes. It was awesome.
It
the
was
paneling in
crazy
in the house in the background. It was so funny.
You know, if you're going to put a profile up, and I do recommend that you go back and listen to our episode on creating an online profile, because people do some crazy stuff with profiles, and it's amazing to us every time we see it that people are convinced that they can get away with it.
Right? Like, really? You really think you can get away with that?
I mean, you're anonymous until the point where you step into the bar and you're actually meeting someone face to face.
And I have a story about that.
Yeah.
Well, not now, but, okay, I'll tell it. It was before I met Ed, and it was the classic example you just gave. Someone posted a picture. It was probably 10, 15 years younger. I'm waiting outside BJ's restaurant. We're going to meet for a drink date. I can't find the guy. I'm looking at the profile. I'm looking. All of a sudden, this stranger walks up to me and says my name. And I'm like, yeah?
Do I know you?
Yeah. And so there's this awkward conversation, and he says his profile and his name, and I go, oh, hi. And so now you're stuck. And it's like, I didn't want to be rude. I thought, okay, I got dressed up. I'm out on a work night. Maybe I can. Clearly, this guy is not. I know this is not for me. But how can I salvage the night? Maybe I'll learn something from this individual. I always go into a situation. How can I make lemonade out of this? Right?
Yeah.
Oh my Lord.
And honestly, if you show up to a bar and the person has lied to you about their profile, their photos, etc., they were the ones who were rude in the first place. So you should not feel bad, and I'm telling all the listeners, you should not feel bad about, wow, you look drastically different than your photos, and it kind of feels like you weren't very honest with us. We're going to go now.
Oh.
And just turn around and walk away.
I was just going to ask you how you would say that if that ever happened.
Just like that.
That sounds perfect.
Right.
You say it so well too. You always have such a soft voice. Not a soft voice, but a compassionate voice when you say that.
Passion.
I know. You've got that deep voice thing going on.
Wow. So that's the thing. When you are transitioning from virtual life to real life, you got to realize that you're going to get caught if you're lying.
Yep.
Here's another story. Phoebe and I were on Kick or one of these.
Fun, I
Maybe
think
it was 3 Fun.
Thanksgiving weekend.
Thanksgiving weekend. We got nothing better to do. We thought we would find somebody to have some fun with.
We're tired of spending time with the vanilla family.
That's right. You can only have so many turkey conversations before it's like,
so much football.
Maybe we could go fuck somebody. That would be much more fun now.
Yeah.
Enough with the politics and the sports.
Yeah.
Let's do some indoor sports. So we're contacted by a couple, and they're all in. They're excited. They're having a great conversation with us. They send some photos. They're cute. Maybe not quite our style. I think they were into choking, which is a little bit outside of our boundaries. But, a lot of people are flexible, and so maybe we wouldn't necessarily have to go into like full throttle mode, so to speak.
Was she chatting also?
Well, no, it was just one person.
Okay.
Which kind of leads us into the next part of this story. Interestingly enough, at some point, he says, hey, we've got a buddy who's hanging out with us today who'd like to join us. And then they send another picture with this other guy. Yes. We're like, well, no, we're not really interested in that. Big guy, shaved head, lots of tattoos. Just didn't look sexy or friendly. Got nothing against tattoos. I'm covered with them. But it's just something about him didn't quite fit our taste, at least for that day.
Yeah, I don't know if it was the photo, because I like a big, tall, bald man.
Exactly. There was just something
But
off.
I think I wasn't interested in having 3 men in the room. I'm more comfortable with
that was probably
you
more to the
and
point.
one other, especially for the first time.
Right. We didn't know these people. We were straight from the internet to, hey, we're going to come over to your house.
Yeah.
Make sure you hide the chainsaws before we show up. So the conversation kind of progresses, and then he says something that makes us pause and kind of cock our heads for a second and go, did he say what? Let me reread that. We reread through the thread, and it turns out that the guy who had contacted us was actually the third guy.
Because he switched they with I, something he switched
Yeah, the pronoun switched in the sentence.
Yes.
And all of a sudden we were talking to the third guy, but it wasn't the third guy. It was the first guy who just
was posing.
Oops, he'd admitted accidentally that he was the third guy,
yes.
and that this couple was actually this tiny little woman and the big bald guy. So here it is. Now it's one of those, okay, wait a second, dude. You started off telling us that you were a couple, and now you want to add a third. Turns out you're the third.
Yes.
You're such the liar. We have no interest because at this point, I'm expecting there to be a chainsaw when we show up. I'm expecting that, we're never going to come home after this, or at least, not in the same psychological state. It's just dishonest.
It is dishonest. And if someone's being dishonest, you don't want to be in a vulnerable position with them sharing your wife or sharing your body. You want to know that you can trust people, they're honest, they're respectful, they can follow direction. If they can't do that, I'm not taking my clothes off in front of you. Sorry.
Correct.
I'm not even stepping inside your house.
So here you have it. If you can't be honest about the situation and who you are and that you're trustworthy, I'm certainly not going to trust you with my wife or my safety.
Right. Just
all kinds of red flags.
Yep.
So
creepy.
There you go. Watch for red flags. Check the pictures.
Mm-hmm.
Do everything that you can to vet people. And honestly, the first date, go to a bar.
Yeah.
Go to a restaurant with a bar. Go to an outdoor concert. Meet these people in a nice, loud environment. Have a couple drinks. Have some laughs. And find out if they are who they say they are. If they're as hot as they portray themselves to be. And then take them home and fuck them.
You keep saying that, Ed.
Well, we've never actually done that. Oh, actually we have. So one of the big pros for online, though, is that you can send photos, you can send video and text, and it can be kind of anonymous, and you can kind of have some flirty fun, and you can be that persona online and not let it invade your personal life.
Yep.
And that's kind of cool. And I think there's a lot of people who have these virtual lives online where they get fun and flirty and sexy. I mean, heck, browse through anything on Reddit and everybody's like, I think my tits are too small. What do you think? No, your tits are perfect, and everybody knows that, but thank you for sharing. The other big pro with online is it's safe. Because it's anonymous, you can communicate with people freely, you can find out a little bit more about them, and you don't risk exposing who you are in real life, that you're the CEO for some major corporation, or you're an elementary school teacher.
Yeah.
We've met a few of those.
Yeah.
And the last pro is that there's less commitment because you have this anonymous safety net. You have no obligation to these people online, and there's a little bit of netiquette to the whole thing where you shouldn't be a douchebag, but you don't have to follow through. You don't have to meet them in real life, and you can pull the ripcord anytime you want and just get out of the situation. You go, thanks, but no thanks. We're out. We're going to move on.
Mm-hmm. In closing, we talked about Insight email, Insight chat rooms, Kik, MeWe, and a few swinger and non-swinger apps. Be cautious when moving to text-based communication, but there's no need to be paranoid. We have found 99% of true swingers are some of the nicest people on the planet. Use the helpful tip on Google Images and PicFind, and never send a photo or video to someone you don't have a high feeling of trust and confidence that they will respect your privacy.
Before you turn off our podcast to take care of all the vanilla things pulling you away, please reach out and give us a review. I know mashing a star is so much easier, but a review is so much better for sharing your love of what we're doing with others. We would appreciate it. If you want to share a personal story, ask us questions, or share your comments, please contact us at swingeruniversity@gmail.com or on Twitter at SwingerUPodcast.